everybody. Welcome to another exciting episode of Cynispection. After we skipped last week, inexplicably. Why did we skip? We were
I, w-
traveling.
I was in Bali. No, I was in Singapore.
No,
Yeah.
that was 2 weeks ago. I think last week we just
No,
skipped it.
last week I was in Singapore.
Was it? Well,
And then the week before
um,
I was in Bali. Yeah. Anyway,
right.
we were
Yeah.
traveling a
Anyway,
lot.
we're
Yeah.
busy people. What do you want? I'm Gabe. That's John. Today we're going to be reviewing the new Black Adam trailer. I was actually
You know
about to
what's
go on the
funny is
first tangent.
we started the
What?
show doing things like that.
We were doing things like, you know what?
We were
Because we
doing
do
things like
talk about them. Like you and I talk about them. We
Yeah.
just don't do them in this show. Like if we ever expanded this concept or whatever, we might have a show where we talk about that stuff. I don't know if we're in that stage yet, but we could be.
Yeah.
Because I was in a show with Dives and Low and those guys from the Pseudo Geeks. And if you don't follow, I guess they're here at the Pin and Lines, but also on the Pseudo Geeks podcast. Those guys cover those things really well. Like they do
Yeah.
a lot of really good stuff.
All the
But I
time.
was with them covering the Black Adam trailer, and it was just like a whole bunch of ripoffs of other superhero movies. Like it starts with like Man of Steel shots and then Iron Man shots, and it just like goes on and on. And it's like it's ridiculous. So we were just like pointing them out. It was insane. So that's why I thought it would be funny to just mention it here without any reason.
But here we are going to talk about something completely different.
Something that's actually good. Something that's actually good. The movies, of course, First Blood. For those that don't know, First Blood is the first Rambo movie, starring Sylvester Stallone and Richard Crenna, among other people that you might have known their faces from 80s movies, but you don't know who they were. I know I felt that way.
Yeah.
I'd never seen it, and John, you had, and when you heard I hadn't seen it, you were like, "What the hell is wrong with you?"
Yeah, I mean, I think that I did like warn you. I'm happy that you already knew, but I did like warn you. I was like, this is not a Rambo movie. Like, I'm very glad that it's not called Rambo, and
Yeah.
and it has nothing or no connotation with Rambo. First Blood is an actually a serious movie, and like it should be taken like pretty seriously. It really like somehow it becomes a trope in an action star, you know, once you get to like Rambo 3. But this first movie deals with like some really serious fucking issues. So like
I think Stallone's own legacy, including his rehash of Rambo, never ending, because he just made the most recent one. I actually watched the fifth one in theaters. I think you didn't.
Yeah, no, the last
you didn't
one
watch it.
No, I did. I went and saw it in theaters. Yeah,
right. I watched it in theaters. It was just not very good. It was set in Mexico, which
yeah.
Oh, interesting. But they had a whole bunch of Spanish actors playing Mexicans, which I also thought was kind of funny. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But point being, you know,
it's so
Stallone's legacy of making like the Rambo of like Daylight is. People assume Daylight is the Rambo like in a tunnel, and then people assume Cliffhanger is Rambo in the snow. But this movie is not at all what people associate with Rambo. Not at all.
No, that really starts with Rambo, a little bit with Rambo 2, or with First Blood 2, and then Rambo 3, and it even just calls itself Rambo 3, which is weird, but whatever. That's when like the tropey action star really came out. And I think that was to compete with like, you know, Arnold Schwarzenegger at the time, right? Because his early movies, like the original Rocky movie, the original Rambo, which is First Blood we're talking about today, take on much more serious tones. And it actually shows that he has a really good side. Like he's a good actor. Like
he's a really good actor. Like I don't think any of the 80s action stars, 80s and 90s action stars have the range that Stallone had. I love Arnold, I love, you know, Bruce Willis and Van Damme or whoever the hell you want. But I don't think any of them had the range that this guy had. Like this guy won an Oscar. Like, you know, like he's got a lot of range. He loves playing like or he used to love playing. Now he's just the hard ass in every single movie. But he used to play like the the everyday guy with
Mm-hmm.
something else, you know, like Rocky is just a movie about the ultimate underdog who's, you know, just a guy that nobody thinks is going to win. And then again, people think Rocky and they think like the fourth one where he fights the Russian, and you know what I mean? Like they don't
Yeah,
really think
no,
about the Rocky original, that street level
exactly.
guy. Yeah.
Yep. And that's
Who
what like I
loses, you know, like
yeah, and
loses the
so
first fight. Yeah.
like to like close the loop on this kind of tangent that we're talking about, but it's actually in line, which is kind of weird for us. But this is not when Gabe said he had never seen it, I was like, okay, here's my preface for it. And he was like, no, I've heard that, I've heard that, I've heard that. So after that being said, what did you expect? Because like this being your first watch of it, I watched it on the plane down here, and that's I don't know, that's probably my 15th or 20th time watching First Blood. So like, I want to hear what your first take on it was.
Well, so I knew what it was about. I remember first time I heard what it was actually about was many years ago. Did you ever see a movie called Apocalypto?
Yeah,
So
with Mel Gibson.
Apocalypto, the Mel Gibson directed
Yeah,
movie. So that movie is basically the same plot as this, at least the
yeah.
second half, like a guy being chased by a whole
Yeah.
bunch of, you know. So somebody was like, "Oh, if you saw that, that's basically the plot of Rambo." And I was like, "Oh, I thought it was like war movies." Like, no, but this was what Apocalypto must have come out 20 years ago, maybe around
15, something like that.
15
Yeah.
years ago. So I knew what to expect. Um, I knew it was about PTSD.
Yeah.
What I don't think I was prepared for was how engaging it was. Like it's just super engaging.
The last scene, I don't want to like gut the movie too much for people who haven't
Let's
watched.
just go for spoilers. I mean, honestly, it's a
Yeah,
40-year-old movie.
the last scene is like it brings you to your knees. And like that's what really shows Stallone's range is like he just breaks down and has a mental breakdown. Um and that's after they've been chasing him, after all of these things happen. And like the thing is he's not having a mental breakdown about him just murdering 100 people or however many people he killed. It's like about Vietnam, which at this point was like 15 years prior. So
Right.
it's like disheartening to watch almost, because like you're just like, oh my god, you feel like what's going on. And you understand why. Like it's, you know, you and I always talk about movies nowadays, they have to build so much, and it's like, you know, 20 movies to like get this one theme across. And
Right.
somehow like First Blood delivers a super complex theme in an hour and a half, in 90 minutes, and you are like attached to the character by the end of the movie.
100%. And it's interesting because like I was watching with Rachel, and at one point she was like, "Hey, you know, why am I supposed to be rooting for this guy? Like, he's just like shooting everybody. He's just like, you know, these are policemen. Why am I not rooting for the police?" And it's like, well, because one, he didn't do anything. Like,
Yeah.
he was just walking there. Like this douchebag police officer, you know, just started like harassing him, and then he was tortured under, you know, like
Under
when he
the
was
police. Yeah.
arrested. Yeah, like it's just a whole bunch of things, and it's a guy with really serious problems, and he doesn't just snap and become like, you know, he's a guy, he starts to take it easy. He's a guy that could, like, as he proves throughout the movie, he
Yeah.
could take everybody out with one punch. But he's just, you know, taking it easy, being chill, and all of a sudden, you know, he um loses it because of the memories that he has, right? The difficult
Yeah.
life he's had. um
Well, and I think that you
yeah.
like going back to the beginning, he doesn't do anything at all. And like
He's just
it
walking.
I don't think that this resonates as well like today as it did in like the 1980s, when we were having a lot of like veteran issues with people coming back from Vietnam. But like we can kind of see it today in a different aspect, you know, like soldiers today are treated much better than they were back then. But he's like, you know, I came in and they were spitting on me. Like people didn't want me here. I can't
The people
like,
that were against the war, yeah.
yeah. So like you have to like reframe your mind when you're like watching this movie. Like the cop is being a dick, but like the whole country at that point was kind of being a dick to this guy or these groups of people that were coming back. And it's not like they wanted to. In most cases, they were drafted. And he just wants something to eat. He has money. Like, that's the thing. The cop thinks that he's like homeless and a vagrant and like gonna cause problems in this small, like, I don't even know where it's in the Pacific Northwest. But
It's actually a fictional town called Hope, Washington, but filmed in a town called Hope in Canada. But in the Pacific Northwest,
Yeah.
clearly. It was such a good setting too. Like, living here, like, you didn't realize how much of a good setting it is for an action movie.
Yeah, especially like the town and everything was perfect. Honestly.
Yeah, it was. And also, it sort of reminded me for a little bit, but not much, because that's a very inferior movie. But of No Time to Die, and that scene with the foggy forest.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, like it used, kind of like the environment. That scene was probably the best in the film. If you want to see our rant on that movie, there's like a 1 hour video or recording that you can just go to. But we didn't hate it. But anyway, yeah, it was a good setting for it. I liked that it was there. I actually like, it's really well done. Not just because we talked about Stallone. Stallone sells this really well, but also everybody else is really good, especially the villain, the sheriff, who is a total douchebag. Right, like he's just a dick. He's not the one that tortures him though and humiliates him. That's all the other deputies.
Yeah,
and it's mostly the deputy
the one deputy who's like
the one that dies first.
Reason. No. The one deputy who's like the youngest deputy is like, guys, we should let up on this. He's obviously got issues. Like, look at him. He's got issues. Which I don't know if you noticed this, but when Rambo started killing all of them, he didn't kill that guy.
Right.
He only he
actually didn't kill any. He didn't kill anybody.
I guess he didn't kill. Well, I guess he didn't.
He threw a rock at the helicopter. Like, that wasn't like it killed the guy fell, but he didn't. He was just defending himself. He at one point he makes one of the police cars crash against another car.
Yeah.
So somebody could have died there, but he doesn't like go ahead and shoot somebody in the head. Like, he doesn't really do that. And I think they were trying to be careful.
Rambo movies. Yeah.
Right, that would happen in later Rambo movies, but especially I think the fourth one and the fifth one are just like incredibly violent. Like, they're just like gratuitous violence.
The fourth one is like pretty over the top violence.
Yeah. The fifth one too. If you ever see it, I don't think it's worth watching, to be honest. He tried to make it more similar to this one,
like the underground holes that he digs in the fifth one.
Yeah,
and like it's like an underground gambit or maze, and they never really explain why he's doing it completely. Just I don't know.
It's similar to this one because there's a lot of tunnels in this one. Although I guess he doesn't kill any people.
This is like a cave here, but anyway, it's a. What else did you think? Like, going through the movie?
Well, I was gonna say about the sheriff. The sheriff, like, he's a douche. He's set up as a douche, but he's also a guy that's trying to protect the town. And I feel like the actor, like, he's just like trying to protect his town. At the beginning, he's kind of like passive aggressive. It couldn't have been done so well without such a talented actor. And I feel like there's many points, like when he goes back to the town and he sees that Rambo is doing all these things, like all these people have died. Like Rambo's blowing up the gun shop, and he's just like doing all. And you look at him, he's like, without talking, he's like, "What the hell did I just do? Like, this was only because I wouldn't let the guy eat something. Like, it's insane."
I think that he starts to realize like how far down he's gone. Like, they keep asking him, right? They keep being like, "Is it far enough? Just let him go. Let him go." Like, that's a theme, and he's just like, "No." Like, when the guy dies from the helicopter, they're like, the one cop says, like, call the state police, let them handle it. It's gone too far. And then, like, they call in the National Guard, and they're like, the military comes, and they're like, it's gone too far, just let him go. And it's kind of like a bad story for, what's this guy's name? Teasel?
Teasel. I don't know how you pronounce it. William Teasel.
But he just keeps
his stubbornness.
He
keeps doing it because he's a douche, and I think he also sounds like he gets to a point where I'm like, I'm here, like, I'm not gonna turn back now. I turn back now, all this is for nothing,
Yeah,
and I guess he gets away with it in the end because Rambo is arrested. He does not die. the sheriff, I mean, does not
I
die
mean,
and he's
Rambo could have
arrested.
killed him. Like for the rest of his life, he'll be sitting there like knowing that.
I
This
mean,
guy is
but
in
if I was
everything and
him,
nothing, by the way.
he
The
would.
guy who plays Teal has been in like so many things, but like nothing. A lot of things that you would know, but like not a lot of things that he's memorable for.
Well, I was like, I know his face. I looked him up,
Yeah.
and he was in Romeo and Juliet, the DiCaprio one, and he was one of the Capulets or the Montagues or something. Like he was one of those. That's where I guess I knew his face from. But other than that, yeah, you're right. He's not such a known face. He wasn't Cocoon, which I don't think I've seen. But they had David Caruso, who's the guy who played the CSI Miami guy who always put on the sunglasses, which I
Yeah.
thought was kind of funny. Yeah, that guy he was one of the least unreasonable cops.
Yeah, he was like
Yeah,
young cop in that one.
right. I mean, and look, it's interesting because I keep watching these movies, and we say this every week. So if anybody watches stuff every week, they're probably like, "Oh, these idiots." But like, honestly, like you watch an action sequence right now. I actually had the misfortune of watching it after I watched the second half of the movie Uncharted, which I don't believe you saw because why
I
the hell
saw.
would you? You did?
No,
Oh,
I did. I
interesting.
saw in theaters because I
Yeah,
have to. I have a movie pass. I have, or whatever it's called, Regal or
yeah.
AMC. I've got to go see the
It's
movie.
also I like all the actors in that. Like I like Tom Holland. I like Mark Wahlberg. I like Antonio Banderas. Like
I
I like
mean,
everybody.
it is. Here's the thing: if you rank it against National Treasure, that movie is garbage. If you rank it against other comic book movies, or I mean, not comic book movies,
Video
other
game.
video game movies, it's not that bad.
Uh, Debatable, but here's the point I was gonna make about it because the ending again. I also like the second half, or probably the last 45 minutes, not even half. The ending involves some helicopters picking up two pirate ships and then taking the pirate ships to another bigger ship and then the pirate ships like crash against each other and they're like in the CGI mountainous sea environment,
It's
I guess.
supposed to. I think it's supposed to be like Vietnam or
Vietnam or one
Philippines
of
or
those,
something like
yeah,
that.
beaches, like kind of like, yeah, you see like kind of like where they shot the man with the golden gun
Hmm.
and DiCaprio's The Beach and those kinds of, I think it's Vietnam, something like that.
Yeah, it's Southeast Asia.
Right, Southeast Asia. And they just like the two ships. I was like looking, I was like, this is fucking insane. Like, why are two pirate ships swinging from helicopters, crashing against each other? Tom Holland is using a rope to go from one to the other. It's just like way too many things going on. And here, the biggest action sequence in the movie. What's the biggest action sequence? Probably the car chase, which is like two cars. Just,
Maybe.
maybe, and
Yeah.
one is not even a car; it's like a military
I mean,
truck.
even the scene where the one person dies in the helicopter is not an action. I wouldn't consider that an action sequence. It's like maybe there's like 5 gunshots in the entire thing and a
Right.
rock thrown that takes the helicopter. It doesn't even take the helicopter. In a modern movie, okay, let me just say this. In a modern movie, if Rambo threw a rock at the helicopter, he would have perfectly hit the engine to knock the blade to put the helicopter into a spiral, which would like fly over a hill and blow up into a giant ball of CGI fire.
And cut somebody's head off with
Like
you
3 people
know,
off. And like, don't get me wrong though, I love gratuitous, like crazy violence. I've been watching C, and like that
yes.
is like insane levels of violence. So like I'm there for it, but when it's appropriate, and I get where you're going with that. Like you can have this amazing movie that conveys this really good plot and like has these like deep underlying things about PTSD and like veterans affairs and all of this other shit. Do it in 90 minutes, which is shorter than I
I
remember.
love it. I love 90-minute movies.
Yeah, do it all in 90 minutes versus like now, like it's this insanity, and it takes 2 hours, and they still convey no plot, and there's no underlying motives. There's no lesson to be learned. There's
No, and I think, I mean, people appreciate like the John Wick movies because, and I think a part of it is because of their simplicity. Like there's a scene in the third John Wick movie where it was probably pitched as John Wick rides a horse through New York, shooting bad guys in motorcycles, and that's all you need. You know, you don't need two pirate ships crashing against. Like it's just like that's an example. You know, there's many other, and it doesn't mean they're bad.
A movie got made on the premise of the guy's dog got killed, and he now goes and murders the entire Russian mob. That is like, if we did a John Explains the Plot on these movies, I just did it. That's the whole plot. Like, dude's dog gets killed by the mob's son. He murders the entire mob. End of movie. Gets new dog. Done. Right. John just explained John Wick.
That's the thing, right? If we did John, because if you've noticed, we don't really do John Explains the Plot that much with these movies we've been watching recently, like 80s movies. Like it's like Days of Thunder. Like Tom Cruise drives a car and has a rivalry with Mickey Rooney. Like that's basically the only thing. Meets Nicole Kidman in a hospital. Like it's just like that's the only thing, you know. And we appreciate it. Again, we sound like broken records here, and I know I brought it up, so I'm sorry, but. For this, I was trying to frame it more on like the action sequence kind of thing. Like you don't need to be like overly complex with an action sequence. You can just have a good action sequence, make it interesting, make it engaging with a character that actually matters, a conflict that matters, not Tom Holland's brother's lost gold or whatever. I don't know. I mean,
well, and it was able to convey. Another thing that this does really well and movies now can learn from is it's something so complex as like PTSD, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't beat you over the head with it. It doesn't say the word PTSD. It doesn't talk about mental illness. It doesn't require like a baseball bat to beat you over the head with this is what we're trying to tell you, but it tells you all of these things. And like it does it so well that when you're done, you're just like, oh shit, like wow, that's real. And this is a good, like when you told me you hadn't seen it, of course I was like, we have to watch it, talk about it.
Well, something that I've noticed that recently, you and I have been mostly just reviewing movies that we've liked a ton, so we need to review like something that, take a risk on something like, hey, do you think we'll like this? Like Uncharted, not that one, but something like, do you think we'll like this one? It looks kind of crappy, but let's give it a shot. You know what I mean?
That's kind of, that's what I'm doing. You actually had said, "Oh, I heard C was good," and that's how I got onto that. Right?
We'll watch C. You need to watch Cobra Kai. I won't get into this conversation online, especially when we're almost at the half-hour mark. So, John, we don't say where people can find us. You can look at it on the screen, and otherwise, it's not just follow Cynispection. And I guess, there you go. Jaw first. Have all the fun. Be nice to each other. Watch 80s movies. Start watching Uncharted. And we'll see you next week for another installment of this show. Bye, John.
Like and subscribe.
Bye.
Bye.